Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I thought I'd take a quick look at the newest hero tank, which is the Frostbite Grizzly M4. So it's a Canadian Sherman variant, and it sits in the British tech tree. Now, I know a few people have said in the comments about the Grizzlies, or it might have been Radley Walters, his Grizzly tank possibly had a £17 and what have you. I didn't really know much about the Grizzly at all, so I decided to do a bit of research on it myself. And as far as I could tell, and I'll put the link to the website that I found this information on down in the description. They were just a Sherman, an M4 Sherman, but manufactured in Canada. And they should all have the G on the front, as you can see there, and basically that's just because they were cast there. But basically they were a bit behind, actually, because they were supposed to have started making them, this is in real life, I think it was in 1942 or something like that, and they didn't actually until 1943, by which time the American factories were actually manufacturing more advanced versions of the Sherman, like the A3s, the A4s, etc, etc. So they were slightly behind, but they did have different suspension and tracks, I think it was, which did give them better speed, I think it was, than the normal standard version of the M4 or the M4A1, which is this one, because this version of the M4A1 is not the version that they were sort of, using in the war, or sort of at the beginning of the war when the Grizzlies were being made as well. It would have basically been the stock version, but here we are. It's not a dual crew trainer, by the way, for anybody that might be thinking, or considering the fact, could it be, maybe, but no, it's not. It just trains the British crews, and it is basically a stock Sherman, but there are a few differences, so it's not as bad as it sounds, if you see what I mean. And I think I was saying that I was thinking earlier, what makes a tank sort of good or bad or average doesn't really make it a good premium, if you see what I mean. Some tanks are sort of better premium tanks than others, and it's not so much a bad tank. The stock Sherman isn't terrible, it's not the best tank, but it's not terrible. But I don't know, as a premium, that's where I kind of disagree. I don't know if this should be a premium tank, and I do feel that it's a bit wasted, a bit of a wasted opportunity, and there are a few things that are wrong with it, in my opinion. But as tier 5 British premiums go, you don't have much choice. You've got this, the Excelsior, or the Matilda Black Prince. So, if it was an American premium, I'd definitely say, why we got this. As a British one, fair enough, I suppose, I think is the best way to describe it. But let's have a quick look at it anyway. There's not too much to tell, because it is very, very similar to normal Sherman, so I'll try and keep this as short as possible. We've got a 400 horsepower engine, which is the same as a stock Sherman. You've got the 75mm M3 L37, which is almost identical to the gun on the Excelsior. It's basically the same gun you've got on the Ripper and the M4A2, E3 or E4, whichever it is, the standard version of the Ripper, the E4, I think. But you've got 15.79 rounds a minute, 92 penetration and 110 damage. You've got 127 and again 110 on your premium rounds, which are another type of armor piercing. So that's slightly better than having APCR, because the range doesn't drop off. The penetration doesn't drop off as much over range, and they don't get decreased normalization against angled armor like APCR does. On your premium HE rounds, it's 38 and 175. 2-second aiming time, which is slightly better, I think, than the Ripper, and it's also better than the Excelsior. I'm comparing it to that because it's a very similar gun. And 0.46 accuracy, which I think is about the same as it is on those, although it could be slightly better. So accuracy does leave a lot to be desired on this. That is something I've got to say. It trolled me a lot in a match earlier. Hull traverse is slightly faster by 1 degree than the fully upgraded Sherman at 38 degrees. Turret traverse is a little bit better, I think, by a couple of degrees at 39. And your view range is definitely better than stock Sherman's, which is 330. And it's 370 meters, which is the same as a fully upgraded Sherman M4. Sorry, I'm a bit croaky in my throat. So it's, like I say, it's a bit of a mixed bag between sort of fully upgraded M4 Sherman and a stock one. Now it does get preferential matchmaking, so it only sees up to tier 6, which is quite nice because that gun struggles in tier 6 and even against some of the tier 5s. And your bonuses 49% silver and 45% XP bonus. Now skill wise, I don't have a particularly good medium tank crew for the British, so I've just had to stick this one in, which is not ideal for this. I would say Sixth Sense, Camouflage, it's got good terrain resistances. Repairs, I would say, definitely smooth ride. Anything that can improve the accuracy of that gun, especially when you're sort of traversing your turret or whatever, would go in. But yeah, generally your standard sort of medium tank stuff. So yes, Sixth Sense, Camouflage, Situational Awareness, Repairs, Brothers in Arms, and yeah, Snapshot, Smooth Ride, anything that can just improve that accuracy somewhat. Supplies wise, 56 for your armor piercing, 2,800 for your premium armor piercing, and 56 for your high explosive. And I've just been boring with the consumables. Now, equipment wise, I've gone for a gun laying drive, a gun rammer, and I've gone for coated optics. I just like to have them on my mediums because it just helps with spotting and gets your assisted damage up that little bit as well, which obviously gets you more XP on your crews in your premiums, and obviously on your tank and your crews in Tech Tree ones. And it also gets you, you know, the more assisted damage you get, the more silver you get as well, so it all helps to go towards it. Sorry, I'm getting very croaky in my throat today. Now, what else is there? The model itself, I will talk about this slightly. It's pretty close to the ones I've seen. In fact, I'll pop a picture up there for you. There you go. That's a picture of an actual Grizzly. So they did have this 75mm gun, and they did have those panels on the side. And the details on the panels as well is quite good. And I'll pop. There's a picture of an actual panel from an actual Grizzly, but that they are slightly wrong on this. They were put on to basically protect the ammo rack locations, but when we go into the modules, you'll see that the ammo racks don't sit exactly behind those, and they were extra armor, they were thicker armor, but whereas on the Firefly they are actually thicker patches of armour, on this they are not, so I am quite disappointed with that, and I think that's something that really needs to be addressed by Wargaming. These welded on panels do and should act as thicker armour, and it would just give it a little bit of something over the standard Sherman. But let's get into the modules. That 400 horsepower engine converts to 13.33, which is the same as a stock Sherman, and it's not as good as a fully upgraded one, which is around 15, I think. 48 km/h top speed with 18 in reverse and a 20% chance of fire, and the engine same place it is in a Sherman. This is very, very similar. Concealment is slightly better at 0.26 and 0.20, and that's stationary and moving respectively. And then that's basically to account for the sort of perma camo. Price on this, by the way, is higher as well, as you would expect. It's a hero tank, it's supposed to compensate for the perma camo, etc. So it is quite expensive for a tier 5 premium though, so there might be better options out there for you. Now the gun, you do get a pretty nice 25-degree gun elevation, so it's not troublesome if anything gets above you, and a very, very good minus 12 degrees of gun depression. It does work very well on the ridge lines. Terrain resistance is 0.9, a flat 1, and then 1.5, which is better slightly than a standard Sherman, and that with the rotation speed being slightly better, it does go a certain way to making up for the reduced power to weight ratio. And I will actually knock together a little speed comparison just after this as well to show you. Turret on top, radio, and it is very difficult to see on here. I do apologise, it's this new garage. In fact, I will have a ghost Sherman burnt into my retinas by the time this is done. It's in the bustle, same it is on normal Sherman. Ammo rack locations, more or less behind those patches, as you can see. They should basically be behind them, that's what they were there for. In fact, that one's nowhere near it, it's just to the right of it, so do remember that when you're shooting at it. But I am disappointed that those patches are not extra armour like they should be. Crew, you've got the driver and the machine gunner down in the hull, and then you've got the commander, loader and gunner up in the turret. where you'd expect them to be. Now, armour-wise, again, not much to show. It is the same as a standard Sherman. So you've got 51 on the front, 38 on the side and rear, and then the turret is 76 on the front, 51 on the sides and the rear. And that's pretty much it. There's not much to show. You know where to pen these. It's a Sherman at the end of the day. 1 to 20 is tracks, engine deck. 21 to 30, a little bit at the back, and just at the front there, and the gun mantle itself, as well as the hatches, the driver's hatch and the assistant driver's hatch. 31 to 50 is basically the rest of the tank. 51 to 70 is the machine gun port, and 71 to 90 is the front of the turret. So there really is not much to tell. It's a Sherman. Everybody knows where to hit and pen a Sherman. It's nothing special in that department. But like I say, I am very disappointed those panels are not extra armour. Anyway, my voice is getting worse and worse. But let's just get into that speed comparison just before the replays, and you can see how it stacks up to a fully upgraded Sherman. Right, well here we are for the speed test. I've had a drink and a throat lozenge, and my throat's holding off for now, so I'm not quite as croaky. But anyway, what I've basically done is gone into the training grounds, just gone onto it, once in the Sherman, once in the Grizzly, and I've tried to put them side by side and sync up so that you can basically see the difference in speed. And you can see that the M4 Sherman is slightly quicker. It's getting to certain points just before the Grizzly is, but really there's not much in it. So that drop in the power to weight ratio, with the increased terrain resistance on the Grizzly, it's not made a great deal of difference. There is a difference, but it's not a massive one, as you can see. So anyway, here we are for the first of the replays, tier 6 match, and it's on Mountain Pass. Now, I think somebody else mentioned as well about the Grizzly possibly in real life being armed with the 17-pounder. Now, when I did look into it, basically it turned out that the British didn't think that the standard M4A1 hull, because of the shape and the contours of it, could take the, I think it was to do with the ammo bustles, because the ammo was bigger in the 17-pounder, or something like that. But anyway, there was something that was wrong with this, that they thought that basically they couldn't convert them into Fireflies with this shape hull, the M4A1 hull. And they sent some turrets over anyway, Firefly turrets over, and it turns out that the Canadians did actually manage to mount one successfully into an M4A1, and in fact here's a picture of it. Well, I'm assuming that's a picture of it anywhere. It's a picture of one at least, but as far as I could see, they never saw combat, not with the M4A1 hull or chassis, and this was basically it. This was it, the Sherman Grizzly 1, as it was called. Now, nothing very special out of it. Well, they were pretty average matches, to be honest. I've used this one. I played a bit poorly in this one, to be honest, and did alright, mostly out of luck and just being in the right place at the right time more than anything else. But I used it because it does show that accuracy at its worst, and also it kind of shows that good 12 degrees of gun depression. Like I said, this is very good on ridgelines. It's a Sherman. And I think that's what it is with this. It's nothing, it is just nothing special. Those panels that welded onto the side are not extra armour on this, whereas they really should be. And if you want to know what it's like, anybody who's got a Ripper, or the standard version of the Ripper without the paint job, it's that, but with less armour, and that's it really. And if you haven't got that, then jump in a stock M4 Sherman. And basically that's what you've got. This is slightly faster and does have a better view range, but essentially that's what you've got. So if you're wondering what it's like, there you go. It'll be very easy to find out. But I don't know, it's just very meh. And that's what it is. It's just so similar to other tanks in the game. Like I say, it's very much like the Ripper, but with less armour, and it is just a stock Sherman at the end of the day. So there you go. I don't know. Like I say, I mean, if you really want a tier 5 British premium tank and you really don't want an Excelsior, then yeah, you know, maybe pick this up, but do bear in mind it is a bit more expensive than a normal tier 5. But like I said before, it's not so much that it's, I don't know, it's not so much it's a bad tank, but it's you know, it's pretty far from a great tank as well. And I've only really managed to get sort of average games out of it. But I really need to get across this bridge. I didn't quite realise how many tanks were down there, and unfortunately that Marder just damaged my engine. But I want to take care of this AMX-40, and you saw the accuracy there. I just couldn't hit the damn thing. And I was aiming at it, you know, it wasn't that I wasn't aiming at it, I was aiming at that AMX-40, but it just wasn't going where I wanted it to. Now, another thing worth mentioning as well, these do struggle against T1 heavies. Ever since they were buffed, sorry. A couple of patches back, they had the frontal armour buffed slightly, didn't they? So, you know, do bear that in mind. You will struggle a little bit. But it's, I guess what I'm saying with this, it's nothing special. It really isn't. It is nothing special. And I think it, you know, it probably could have been, or it, you know, it possibly could have been a bit more special, or a bit more, you know, a bit different. But there you go, that's it. I'm here to just sort of give you my opinions on it, let you know what it's like, and there you go. You'll be, like I say, you can find out for yourself. But I don't know. If it was, if it was me and I was looking for a tier 5 British premium tank, and obviously, you know, I was looking at buying it now while this is in the store. I've not had them until the Black Prince yet, but I've not heard or seen particularly good things about it, so I don't know. That's probably something that I wouldn't get. It would be between this or the Excelsior, and I'm really not too sure which I get, to be honest. I know that doesn't particularly help, but I don't know. Maybe the Excelsior. I'd have to say that's the one that I'd possibly lean towards, simply because, I mean, the gun is basically identical. I think you get one less pen on the Excelsior. I've not put in too much stock in the mastery on these either, by the way. I've hardly seen any of them, so I can't imagine the bar being set too high. But yeah, not brilliant damage-wise, not brilliant assisted-wise, but it put me second on the table with 4 kills. But again, mostly just luck as I was finishing them off. But yeah, I don't know, I'd maybe go for the Excelsior possibly, just because the gun is almost identical, but the Excelsior does have that better frontal and rear armour. Manoeuvrability might not be quite as good, but I don't know. I do kind of favour manoeuvrability. But then again, the Excelsior is a lot cheaper, so I possibly would, if it was between the two, possibly go for the Excelsior, as much as I do like Shermans. I'm not very good in them. You know, I like them, but I'm not very good in them. But anyway, here you are for this. Well, here you are. Here we are for the second match. And tier 5 again, I think it is. Sorry, tier 5 again. Tier 5 this time. And it's here on Ensk. And I mean, as you can see, I have memories of the stock Sherman being really, really sluggish, and I know you don't even get that much of an engine increase on the on the upgrade, but I do remember it. Oh yeah, derp. Not paying attention. Yeah, you don't get that much of a horsepower increase on the engine upgrade, but it seemed to make quite a bit of a difference in the Sherman. But I just have memories of the stock Sherman being very, very sluggish and not as slow as this is. Sorry, not as quick as this is. Even though it does have the same engine size, but that's because of the slightly better terrain resistances, I think. But the turret, it is this, like I say, stock turret off the Sherman. So again, I really would recommend, if you were even considering picking this up, just going in a stock Sherman again and having a few rounds in it, just, you know, because I don't know. The turrets on this, even though the gun depression is very good and it has got that angle and it's 76mm, I was using the gun depression earlier, and I think it was a T1 Heavy, was going through the front of my turret every time, even though it was angled. It just kept penning the front of my turret, so you know, you can't just sit there. Even in a tier 5 match, there are tier 4s, you know, they will bounce, especially when you're using your gun depression off the front of your turret range, but yeah, I don't know, I was a bit surprised. I think that it was a fully upgraded Sherman, that T1 Heavy might have bounced a couple of times at least, but it was penning through the front of the turret every time, just to the side of the gun mantle. But we managed to win down that side of the map, and yeah, I kind of rushed across here a little bit and ran into a few things that I really didn't want to run into, like a captured KV-1. Yeah, he can definitely out DPM me, and he's definitely got the pen over me, and he's got the armor over me as well, so yeah, not particularly excited to run into him. Got rid of the light tank, hiding around here. Our guys have gone into, in fact they've really piled into cap. That captured KV-1, yeah, he's turned around, he wants a piece of me. I'm going to attempt to side scrape badly against him, and yeah, he's doing a particularly good job. Although he does bounce once, twice, which does just save my life. This really, really is a close one, look. Yeah, another couple of seconds, I'd have been a goner. But there you go. The Frostbite Grizzly M4. Kind of underwhelming, nothing particularly special, and it just feels like it's something we've seen before, which in a way I suppose we kind of have with the Ripper. Just with slightly less armor and possibly a little bit more mobility over the Ripper. But there you go. It's just very average, like I say, and just nothing special. But there you go. It's up to you at the end of the day. It's your money, and if you want to pick one up, then nobody's going to stop you. So there you go. There's another few result screens coming up at the end here. Just, again, average matches really that I've had in it. Just to give you a bit more of an idea of the kind of sort of games I've been having in it. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that episode. I hope you have a good weekend. And I'll be back on Sunday with another video. So until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.